Hello everyone, it's Alex, and I have a short video for you today on a group of Numidian Cavalry that I've just finished. I'll discuss the unit with you, and I'll focus on the technique that I used, and then I'll discuss the cavalry battle at Cannae, and I'll conclude with future projects that I'm thinking about. So let's show you the unit first. Get these guys out of the way. Now here they are. All right. So these are the new Numidians. These guys came straight off the kit from Victrix. I didn't use any kit bashing at all, though I did get shield transfers. And there are 12 in the kit. I've only got 9 of them here. And you'll see that I multi-based them with a looser formation than what I used for my Carthaginian Noble Cavalry, which I have right here. There we go. Yeah, I put 12 on the base on the left and just 9 for the Numidians here on the right. So let's get straight to the technique that I used. I painted these in a clean style, I'm calling it. So what do I mean by that? I did not use a traditional wash on the horse or on the rider. What I ended up using is Army Painter speed paints. So particularly for the shirt, I used, oops, I gotta move that one back a little bit. I used the white, this one, Holy White, on the these like linen shirts here to give it a little shading. And you know, if you don't do that, if you just use a brown wash, which I have done in the past, you end up getting you know, this type of effect, this dirty boy right here. So you know, I wanted them to look a little bit cleaner than this. I mean, this is fine, but I'm experimenting with a cleaner look, and I think it turned out really well with these guys. So why was I looking for a cleaner look? Well, these guys are specialists. They're not fodder. I didn't want them to look like super dirty barbarians. Now on the horses, I used a very interesting technique. There we go. Kind of get a look here on the right side. So I also did not use a wash on the horses. I got this technique that I used here from a guy named Rodge. I'll link his video in the description. It seems like he was painting these same Numidians for use in the game Saga, and he does a lot of Saga stuff. And that's a tabletop game with single-based figures. It's got a historical theme, and his paint jobs look great. He does painting tutorials, and his figures look very good. And I took his technique. So how does it work? Well, what you do is you first lay down a very bright layer of paint, like say from these colors here, like an orange and a burnt red. That's what I ended up using. And then what you do is you add your speed paints to layer. So you do 1 part black with 1 part gray, and then 2 parts medium. So as much medium as you have color. And that'll completely dull the ridiculously bright base layer that you have, and you'll end up getting this nice rich effect. And it also looks very clean, at least compared to the way I normally do my horses. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I like the nice rich brownish red that you end up getting out of these guys, these horses. I added a little bit of variation in the mixing to get just slightly different colors on the horses, but not by much. They still look basically the same color, which is fine. Okay, so to wrap up the discussion on technique, I've got my Carthaginian base here of, you know, the heavy horse Carthaginians, and you can see that I'm using a different basing technique. I'm using what's it called? Basing paint? Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Here it is. Using a Pro Acryl Golden Earth basing paint. And then I actually dry brushed. I almost never dry brush, and I dry brushed the base to, you know, just add a little bit more of that lighter color near the top, and put down a ton of little tufts. And I added the little dried up river in the middle as well. And I tried to blend the figures onto the base by dry brushing the horse's hooves a little bit here. And I think it came out a little strong, but I had someone in the comments recommend that I try that out, and so it took me a while to come up with the courage and the excuse to try it out. And I think I'm glad that I tried it. I need to refine it still a bit. Needs a little bit more work, I think, but I'm not unhappy with it. Okay, so let's turn to the character of the unit. So what was I going for here? They have a very uniform look, but they're also very active and grim, I guess you'd say. They look dangerous. And I've heard that the Romans were terrified of them. I think Adrian Goldsworthy described them as fulfilling a similar role as horse archers did in the East, which I think is fascinating, because these guys are just throwing javelins. They don't have those powerful composite bows, so they have to get a lot closer. But that's what he says. So, they run up to the enemies, throw javelins, and if they have the advantage, they'll close in and fight. And they're also extremely dangerous on the pursuit. So let's talk about the cavalry battle at Cannae, as recorded by our best source, Polybius. So, keep in mind, I'm working here off a translation. I'm not a classicist, but, this stuff is great. Indulge me. So, according to Polybius, the Romans put their own cavalry on the right and the allied cavalry on the left. And, I think the majority of their cavalry is the allied cavalry, and these are, what I call the Italian allied cavalry. Probably not many Gauls. And Hannibal, he placed his Numidians on the right, facing the Italian allies, and he placed his Iberians and Celts on the left, facing the Roman cavalry. Now, Polybius says the Celts and Iberians dictated the tactics of the engagement on the left wing. So, instead of fighting this wheeling and dealing engagement, they dismounted and engaged the Romans on foot. And man to man, according to the translation, they were routed. They fought a man to man and they routed them. Assumedly because they were very outnumbered. Polybius doesn't give that excuse on why the Romans were driven off, but of course he does state that the Romans were very outnumbered in terms of cavalry in the battle generally. So the Gauls and the Iberians rout the Romans on the left, and what's going on the right where the Numidians are fighting. So what Polybius says is, due to the peculiar nature of their tactics, he's talking about the Numidians, they neither sustained nor inflicted serious losses, but they did distract their opponents and prevent them from playing an effective part by harassing them from all directions. So they neutralized the large part of the Roman cavalry for a time, and eventually what happens is the left wing, the barbarian wing of the Carthaginian cavalry, wheels around and takes the Roman allied cavalry in the rear and drives them off the field. And the Carthaginian commander, Hadstrubal, I think it's pronounced, he has the Numidians hunt down the fleeing horsemen due to the fact that, as Polybius says, the fact that there were a great many Numidians and that they were the most effective and dangerous once they had the enemy on the run. So what do I take from this? Very simple. These guys here were classic harassing light cavalry. Nothing very profound, but I think it's always great to get it from a primary source. Okay, so about the future. Well, I'm working on some Celtic skirmishers, and I've also just started my new Republican Roman army, and I'm cranking through the Triarii right now. It's a bit of work, but I'm doing it. I'm about halfway through, and I hope to get some Pedites Extraordinari next, the elite Italian allied infantry. And I'm very excited about those guys. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed, and have a nice day.